Come one, come all. It's story time with an alchemist. The great work begins now. Long time ago, there was a young man, a young shepherd boy named Santiago. He lived in the land of Andalusia, now known as Spain. Santiago's parents wanted him to be a priest, but with the desire to explore the world and to learn and not be attached, Santiago remained a shepherd. As a shepherd, he met many people in many different areas of Andalusia. But then, on one fateful night, while sleeping in an old abandoned church that he was familiar to, next to a large tree that grew in the middle of the church, springing forth beyond the roof, seeing the stars, Santiago had a vision. He had a dream. In that dream, he was told that he will find his treasure at the base of the pyramids. Santiago had never been to the pyramids. All he knew that they were in Egypt, and that there was a wind called the Avante that blew from Egypt into Andalusia. It brought the Moors years earlier. So Santiago, following his dream, sold his sheep in a nearby village, bought fare across the Mediterranean to Morocco. Once there, he met a young man who would guide him to Egypt, or so he thought. But once he found himself with this young man, getting ready to buy passage to Egypt, the young man stole his money. Santiago, now a man from Andalusia, a shepherd with no sheep, found himself in a foreign land, not able to speak the tongue, not knowing if he would be able to survive and how he would get back home. Santiago walked in the streets. While walking in the streets and looking into a crystal shop, he sees an older gentleman. The older gentleman comes out and says, "What do you need?" He tells him of his trials and tribulations. He tells him of his dream to go to Egypt where he will find his gold. But he is without money. He is without opportunity to go to Egypt. So he just wants to work so that he can make enough to find his way back home and repurchase sheep and become a sheep herder once again in Andalusia. The crystal merchant allowed him to come in, said, "It is our way. Allah tells us that we must help strangers in need. So you may work for me. And as you work for me and build your wealth, prepare yourself for your return." So for months, Santiago worked for the crystal merchant. And as he worked for the crystal merchant, he realized different methods that could make the crystal merchant more money. Putting a shelf out in front of the store, displaying your glass wares will help him make money. And it worked, and they made more money. The crystal merchant became fond of Santiago. He then let Santiago sell tea in crystal glasses on top of a hill that many would climb at the end of the day to watch the sun set and view the beauty of their city. This made the crystal merchant even more money. And as Santiago and the crystal merchant sat and drank tea one evening, the crystal merchant remarked about how he had a vision, a dream, of going to Mecca to make his Hajj, but that he would never do it. Santiago asked, "Why would you never go and make this Hajj that is so important to your beliefs, that it is a requirement as a Muslim for you to make this trip? Why will you not make this trip?" The crystal merchant explained that many have went and made the trip. Many have come back changed and more devoted to their beliefs. But the crystal merchant feared that if he made the trip and Mecca was not all that he had dreamed it would be, all that he had hoped that it would be, that if he did not come back a changed man, that he would be sorry for ever taking the trip. So therefore he decided that he would never take the trip and remain in dreamland of the possibility of the trip. Well, upon hearing this, Santiago felt renewed. He felt invigorated. And in feeling invigorated, he got back on his journey to Egypt and not go back home to Andalusia and become a sheep herder once again. This has been Story Time with an Alchemist. This story is bits and pieces of the story of Santiago, the young man in the book called The Alchemist by Paulo Cualo. Although I skipped many lessons to get to that point, you must understand that Santiago had a dream. The dream told him where his treasure was. Understand the crystal merchant had created a dream for himself, and his dream was to fulfill his religious duty to go and make a Hajj to Mecca. Both men had dreams. Both men, in different ways, suffered in order for them to fulfill their dream. Santiago gave up everything that he had known, disobeyed his parents, went into a foreign land, was stolen and cheated out of his money, found himself destitute, but then found an opportunity to work. And for all his mindset, was willing to go back to Andalusia and pick up his life where it left off, always knowing that he failed in going to achieve his dream. The crystal merchant, devout in his religion to Allah, knew that he was to help someone. Watch others less fortunate than himself. Watch others who made less money than himself venture and take their Hajj to Mecca. A fulfillment, a dream that he had for himself. And even though Santiago had showed him that change can be good, that by selling crystals on the mountaintop, in selling tea in crystals on the mountaintop can be good, putting a shelf outside the store can be good, that change is good, that there is nothing to fear, the crystal merchant still would not fulfill his destiny, fulfill his dream, fulfill his religious requirement to Hajj to Mecca. Santiago, realizing that he did not want to live a life of regret, continued on his journey. And although there are many lessons in between and after this portion of the story, the lesson to understand at this point is that you have to live your life to the fullest. If you have a dream of something you want to accomplish, if you have something that you are supposed to do, do not let adversity stop you. Do not let momentary setbacks stop you. Do not be fearful of change. Do not be fearful that the outcome may not be as great as you expect it to be. I have had family members of mine who are Christian. I offered them opportunities to go to Israel, to see the places that they believe their religious book occurred. I can tell you this, I experienced the same thing where I was told, I do not want to go because once I go, it may not be as grand as I have it in my mind, and I don't want to be disappointed. Later, I was told by some of those same individuals that when they were healthy enough to go, they regret not going. Do not live your life in regret. Live your life without regret. If there is something that you have been told in a dream or a vision, if there is something you have envisioned for yourself and decided for yourself, if the God and Goddess within has told you and directed you to do something, accomplish something, be something, do not let adversity get in your way, nor do not let your own fear get in your way. Whether the results are greater than your expectation or not, they can only enhance you. Follow your dreams. Follow your destiny. Follow the goals that you have for yourself until you reach its end. Because only by reaching its end will you find your treasure. So this has been Storytime with an Alchemist. Remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable.